Are you able to generate a lot of results by putting a little bit of effort into things? I mean, you know the Pareto principle. We love the idea we can get 80% of our results, 80% of the income, 80% of the sales, 80% of the traction from 20% of our effort. Well, I've brought someone on today who's going to share some insights into how he specializes in this as well as what he's done in his own business. And we're going to pull behind the curtains in one of my favorite topics, leverage. So it's Melanie Benson Strick here, America's leading small business optimizer, and this weekly podcast is all about how to make the business you have perform 10, 15, 20, maybe even 100 times better by making really tiny tweaks and refining your business, and what I like to say, optimizing. So today's guest is somebody that I have known for a really, really, really long time, and he's somebody who I think is just a tried and true expert in the marketing field. And that's Craig Valine. Now, Craig is what's called a marketing performance strategist, which is a really great name for people who help entrepreneurs be able to leverage their marketing budget, their marketing efforts, their marketing strategies. And that allows them to get a far better result from all of their marketing effort with the same amount of time, money, and energy that they've been putting into it. And that's what I love the most about Craig and what he does and why it fits in so well with what we're doing here is marketing is one of those things that's really easy to throw a lot of money towards a lot of different activities and not really know what's working out. So Craig, so glad you could come on today and share some insights and go behind the curtains and share a little bit about what's worked for you in your business.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. So, I always like to start by understanding a little bit about what was the catalyst to do what you do today. Like, why did you decide to focus on putting leverage in place for people and for yourself, for that matter, around marketing as a business model?
Well, it started when I was a kid. When I was young, my dad was giving my sister a $5 allowance, and I was getting a 50-cent allowance. And I said to my father, "What gives?" So he says, "I'm going to teach you a valuable lesson. Go out and earn it." So as a young kid, I was a very young, ambitious entrepreneur. I mowed lawns. I'm from Boston, so I shoveled snow. I hung Christmas lights. I had 3 different paper routes. I made a lot of money as a young kid. Then how I became the entrepreneur was leveraging that. So whereas I could not shovel every driveway on the hill, but I had a reputation for it. So I started having my friends do it, and I took a piece of the pie. I started doing that with Christmas lights. I started doing that with mowing lawns. And soon, a friend of mine, his father owned a local bike shop down the bottom of the hill, and it was struggling. And my friend said, would you talk to my dad? He's getting ready to close shop, and maybe if you just kind of saw what he was doing, you could add some help. So I said, yeah, sure. And at that time, my dad had been giving me sales and marketing books that he picked up at flea markets. I mean, I was reading sales books at age 11. I mean, it was kind of a very cool thing. But I just went on a Saturday and watched what happened in the store. And what I noticed was his father was never collecting the name or finding out any information about the people who walked in and then didn't buy. And I said, if you just kind of engage them and ask them some questions, and if you're not able to help them at that time, just be willing to follow up until they're ready to buy. Well, just that little one strategy saved the business. It's still in business today in that little town, and my friend who I grew up with runs the store. I mean, so he says, you should like help people do this. You should be a marketing consultant. Challenge was I didn't know anything about consulting. I had all this advice and experience from running my own stuff, but I didn't really know how to be a consultant. So through paying a lot of money and going through a lot of painful experiences, I learned that I was only this far off, and by making small changes in what I was doing and how I was presenting myself and how I would attract the type of person that was willing to give me money, that made all the difference. So hence now I'm in the marketing performance business, and it's all about leverage.
Yeah, I like that word, marketing performance. As a matter of fact, that's the name of your company, right? And
Yes.
the idea being that how do you make your marketing perform better? So, what would you say is the most common or most pervasive problem that the type of clients you work with experience that make them need this marketing performance support?
Well, the biggest thing that I experience is that people are really great at what they do, meaning their skill or craft, but they're not good at marketing.
Mhm.
And they think marketing is secondary to what they do, and really it's the primary thing that they do. And so they've never really become a student of it. So if they think they should be advertising, they'll go and they become what I call an advertising victim. They listen to every ad rep who comes their way or every strategy that they hear on a seminar or a webinar, but they don't really have any skill in which to implement it. So they
Mhm.
spend a lot of money, they don't get the best results that they could from it. Maybe it is working, but could it be working better? The answer is probably yes. Um, so what I do is when they come to me, they say, you know what, I know I can be doing much, much better, but I just don't know how or where. So there are time tested, proven strategies in everything that we do as marketers and entrepreneurs. And so what I do is I see, what are you already doing? Let's see where we can test one or two different things, maybe one element at a time. So for instance, if it's an advertisement, is the headline strong enough? Is it attracting the type of people you want to attract? Is the message strong enough? Number the first question before that would be is, are we really speaking to the right people? You know, speak to the right people with the right marketing message, and make sure we're also using the right media. And the media could be, is advertising in this paper better than advertising in this paper? Or is sending direct mail out to these people better than sending them out to these people? And that, you know, so it's just making intelligent decisions, and that intelligence comes through testing.
Yeah, I love that you say intelligence comes through testing. To me, testing is knowledge. It
Right.
gives us what we need to know so that we can make better decisions, so we can use our resources more effectively. And I'm a big fan of testing. But, it's funny, I was oblivious to it for so long. It's like, I'm just kind of curious, like, what was the light bulb for you to realize that testing was going to help you make better decisions? Like, was there something that happened or something that you discovered in your own business?
It was a combination of both reading about it and experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had read about this testing, as in real estate, location, location, location. Well, in marketing, it's test, 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 because there's no one right way to do anything. Something that works for you as a consultant in your end may be slightly different for me if I test slightly differently. So, so I had a lot of pain. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I had everybody in my life saying, "Why didn't you just give up and get a real job?" And that sort of thing.
I know that one.
But by testing, a different presentation, by not being so eager to hunt, but rather testing an approach that attracted people to me, the right people, and it was just this difference. It really made that difference. All of a sudden, I'm like, that's a lot easier. Oh my God. And then the thing is about testing is the big thing that I learned is that just because I found a better way doesn't mean that's the best way. So I got to keep on testing to try to get a better result each time until we beat what we call the control. The control is that thing that is proven to work. Now let's try to beat it. So once I figured that out, and again, it was a lot of pain, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of fights with, people that I was involved with, it finally made it all pay off.
So one of the things that I'm hearing and what you're saying is that, to really be able to understand what works best and not just better and not just mediocre is to have some patience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You may be doing one thing and it produces income, money, results for you, but you should always have this thing, Tony Robbins called it CANI, constant never ending improvement. You've got to have that mindset and understand that you may not know tomorrow, you may not know from a month from now. Maybe you'll learn a year from now that there's a much better way to do it. But if you keep on testing, just doing little experiments to see, is this headline better than this headline? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, how about this offer? Is this offer better than this offer? Oh, it is. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Test one element of everything you do. And, I used an advertisement as an example, but it could be if you network, if you speak up at a podium, if you're on stage and you're selling from stage, if you're a retail space and you're making offers to get people coming into your store, everything has the ability to be tested. And first we've got to find out what works and then always try to beat that.
So I've had the privilege of seeing you in action several times and hearing your raving fans, just swarm you. And, love you up, but also just, have had significant improvements in their business by learning the things that you teach. So I'm kind of curious, do you have like a favorite technique or strategy that you think maybe our listeners today could learn from you that, can work pretty much for anybody, or at least give them the right direction?
Well, there's a couple of driving philosophies that I operate from, and one of which is that operation of leverage. So I'm always going to say, tell me what you're already doing. So you've
Right.
got to map out what you're already doing. And some people find that they're only doing a few things. And one of the driving philosophies that I operate from is stem from one of my mentors, Bill Glazer and Dan Kennedy, is diversity creates stability. The more things you have working for you at the same time, the better luck you'll have in business. That is, if you speak at the front of the room, you may generate 1 or 2 leads. If you're running an ad, you may generate 10 leads. If you have an online presence, you may generate 3 qualified prospects, and so on and so forth. So you go down the line, and each one is going to be working sort of like a mutual fund, different yields, different percentage, risks, and that sort of thing. But if you rely on any one, you're going to have a very linear type of growth. If you have them all working, you're going to have exponential or geometrical growth. And so I'm always striving to get people to do more than just a few things. About a half a dozen is reasonable. And even if it's towards attracting new clients, whether it's nurturing new clients and getting them to come back more often, or whether it's to increase average transactional value, you've got to have multiple things and multiple strategies and tactics to work simultaneously. So that's one of my core things. The other things that I look for are, is what you're doing working? So I use what I call the critical marketing triangle, and that is the right message going to the right people using the right delivery method, and that's what we call media. So if you're, so for instance, I struggled in the beginning, right? When I started out as a consultant, I thought if I go to the Chamber of Commerce, I'm going to find, all the people I need to do business with. Well, the challenge is that almost every new business joins the chamber or joins a networking group, and that's their primary marketing strategy. What I found was that I was able to help professionals, those with expertise, knowledge, skill to solve problems. That was my best type of client. Well, there was only about 5% of those people there. So
Right.
when I switched it over to go to the Institute of Management Consultants, 95% of my market was there. So that was a better media for me to be in front of versus the Chamber of Commerce. And those are educated decisions that we have to make. And again, you test, right? You go to the Chamber of Commerce, you realize that's not working. But then you go to the right, another place where who you want to talk to, who needs your services are there. It makes a better result. So message, markets, and media, very critical importance. And that's what I drill into every person I do business with is, make sure you're getting, anything that you do, marketing or advertising wise, has to have those 3 criteria, or you risk poor results.
Yeah, and you keep talking about testing, but I would add, and I know you do, but sometimes we just don't say both, tracking. It's one
Right.
thing to test and to try different things. And I think that's where a lot of people get, tell me if you experience this too. Like they get caught up in the bright, shiny object syndrome. It's like, well, I'll try this, I'll try that. But if you're not tracking, and actually not just tracking for a month, but really tracking over time so you can see history of, are there ups and downs? Are there phases of what works? Do you find over time that one of these mediums tends to bring you your best clients, not just a slew of clients? Because in my experience, I had to do a lot of testing and tracking to figure out, all right, where do my most profitable, enjoyable, long-term clients come from versus people who will throw money at something that they think they want, but then maybe they bail out or they don't really work the process or they're not as fulfilling to work with. So do you notice that too?
Absolutely. Marketing is really about math and psychology, and the math part is knowing the answers, tracking and measurement and accountability. And you just said it, right? Where do my best customers come from? What times of the month are they most responsive? What months of the year are they most responsive? What media works best a certain time of the year? Maybe it's all year, maybe it's certain times of the month. So you can make better economic decisions, investment decisions in your advertising and marketing if you have tracked those things, and you can find spikes, you can find dips, you can make intelligent decisions. So absolutely. The testing part meant the accountability.
Sure,
measurement, but you
sure.
gotta-
Incorporating it all in. And I call it testing and tracking. That's why I want to get everybody on the same page because whatever you call it, make sure you're doing both pieces of it.
Right, just the all direct marketing especially is very accountability oriented. You need to know what's working and what's not, why and when, and again, that's the whole encompassing thing about testing, and that's how we get that thing called optimization or leverage, because
Mm.
we are following those statistics, those metrics. That's the only way
Right.
to do it.
Right. So, Craig, I really appreciate when people can kind of take us to a part of their own journey where maybe things weren't as exciting and rosy and, all
Yeah.
lollipops and, just sparkly. We all go through it. And I think, one of the biggest challenges when I meet with my clients is usually they're coming to the table in a place of pain or feeling frustrated and they feel very alone. So, I think one of the things I love the most about the guests I have on here is that, we kind of like find that we're all very common and that there has been massively difficult and challenging phases of our journey. I'm kind of curious, like, what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges along the way?
Um, I, you know, I'm known as the former struggling consultant. That is my
The
moniker.
recovering struggler.
There we go. Because I think the biggest challenge in my life at that time was I tried to do it all by myself. And
Mm,
of course, there are lots of people before us who have done these things, and you read a book and maybe attend a seminar, and that's okay, and that helps. But you know what? The biggest mistakes and challenges in my life happened when I did not have a coach in my life. When I got a coach in my life, everything changed, because we do know a lot, especially if we're, as an entrepreneur, you got to be a reader. Readers are leaders. You got to be a reader. You got to be a watcher. You got to be a tender. I just saw you a couple weeks ago at a seminar down in San Diego. Didn't expect to see you there, but why wouldn't I, right?
right,
It's
exactly.
it's it's like we go there to better ourselves, to be on top of things, and I think once I got a coach, everything changed for me. And my coach did not tell me things I didn't know. They helped me get when you are full of information, when you think you know it all, right? You can't see it all. And sometimes it takes just to ask some questions to elicit that stuff out of you, to find out why do you believe that? Why do you think that? What's not visible to you right now? What has occurred in your life in the past 60 days that maybe you hadn't thought about exploiting? Little simple questions like that. But it created clarity in my life. And once I had clarity, I could see everything.
Mm.
It was like, holy moly, it was right there in front of me and I didn't see it. So the biggest challenges in my life were exactly when I did not have a coach in my life. And once I got the coach, it made all the difference.
So was the challenge that you just really didn't see a clear path for yourself and you were kind of in a wobbly space and trying too many different things? Would you say that was what the coach helped you resolve?
I was surviving and not being clear on my goals and
Mm,
objectives. What
yeah.
was it that I was really trying to achieve? Who was it that I really wanted to work with? Who didn't I want to work with? Right? What were my clear income goals? And what did I need to achieve those income goals every month, every week, every month, every year? It was just clarity on being, what is it that I wanted? What is it that I didn't want? And listing those out.
Yeah.
Because if you don't put them down, if you can say, yeah, I know in my head, but you really got to have them down. You got to see them every day. You got to have somebody bringing them up to you again and again and again to remind you what's important, what you should be working on. Because, like you said, bright, shiny object syndrome, you can get nudged off course very easily. You don't necessarily get pushed. You get nudged, and all of a sudden you say, how did I get over here?
Right. Like it's that slow boil, the old frog boiling analogy where you kind of slowly get hotter and hotter and hotter and you don't realize like, oh my God, I'm cooking here and you've been doing the wrong things for so long you didn't even realize that you're so far off the track.
Well, and part of that is making the right decision based on what your goals are.
Hmm.
And because a lot of I did this forever, and this was what part of my challenges was. If I put something off, I thought, oh, I still have 3 months to get it done. Oh, I have 2 months to get it done. Oh, I have a month. Oh my God, it's the end of the year. So don't put things off. Get it done now, and then have the free time at the end. Don't take the free time now, because once you push it off once, it's easy to push it off again and again and again, and then finally you're out of time. And where are you? Is it the end of the world? I don't know. It could be. It's just up to you. Depends what you're trying to achieve. How long do you want to push it off?
Yeah. So with all of that, clarity that came from a coach, I'm imagining that there's probably some point in your journey where there was just like a major aha moment, a particular strategy, something that you learned that made a huge significant difference in being able to stop struggling as your
Yes.
client and really get into more of a thriving mode. Like, what was that moment like, and what did you learn?
Well, when you're in survival mode, you take any job you can get. I called myself a marketing consultant at the time, and I did anything that would pay the bills. That anybody, it's an amazing feeling when you just get $50 you can put in your pocket, right? When you didn't have $50,
Right.
and that goes quick, by the way.
Especially in
But
LA.
so what the epiphany to me was when somebody I was working with, who I had a fairly respectable relationship, started treating me like dirt and treating me like I was just an employee and things like that. And I said, that's not what I'm here for. I am someone who can help solve problems for people. I have done it in the past. Uh, what I do makes money for people. What I do creates does more than that too, because just like it was doing for me, what I do is I save dignity for people. I save personal respect for people, because like me having to go home and say, no, I didn't make any money today, or no, I didn't make any money this month, or and having that spouse feel put shame on them, feeling that sense of personal shame. If I can help solve that for someone, then I'm doing a great job, and I don't deserve to feel that way myself. So when the personal aha, that moment of clarity again, was when I decided that I can do business with who I want, when I want, where I want, how I want. It was that sense of autonomy. I don't have to answer the phone during the day. I can work straight, so I have full free time. I don't have to do business like every other consultant. I don't have to compete. I can do things that get people to know about me in advance and seek me out, either strategically or by reputation. Once I was able to do that, my life changed, and I've never turned back. And I've made a couple mistakes every once in a while with people that I knew, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it a favor, and then I got steamrolled, and I said, not going to happen. So it's that moment of clarity when you know what you want in your life and you just do it.
Yeah, I call that setting higher standards for ourselves. And then the boundary is, what do you say no to because it's not going to fit those standards? So that's cool. No one has ever talked about that on the show yet.
It's autonomy is something I learned from Dan Kennedy, and it just made a big deal because I was working with so many people I didn't want to work with. That was the number one thing I said was, who do I not want to work with, right? This type of person, and it was certain behavioral types, power types, and also certain type of project types. I just said, that's not me. That's not what I do. I can refer you to somebody, or I can facilitate it and get a piece of pie, but I'm not going to do it because then I seem like an employee. I seem like an underling. There's something that I learned about being of service as a consultant. A consultant, should really be like any other major professional problem solver, an accountant, a doctor, whoever you rely on in your team to keep you at optimum health and business-wise, personal-wise, or whatever. And I thought, I need to treat myself like I'm the doctor of a business. I'm not here to squabble over what strategy is right. I'm giving you a prescription, and that's what I recommend. If you don't want to do it, then maybe we shouldn't be working together. And that was just another shift in me. I'm solving big problems for these people, and by the things I've done, I've attracted them to my life. To say, well, Craig's the one you need to talk to. Well, then Craig's the one you need to listen to too. So,
Sounds like you really owned being the expert.
yes.
Because the expert understands their value and they understand the worth and the exchange, whereas somebody who maybe doesn't have that same level of confidence will allow people to not treat them the way they should be, or maybe have a misaligned power exchange in the service relationship. And as service professionals, if we understand what our expertise is, we actually will command a higher level of respect from the people we serve. Doesn't mean we are better, they are better. It's not about that. It's about really understanding the value exchange.
Right, and there's that word, we can and we should provide extraordinary service at what we do, but we should not be in the service business per se, because service equals servant. And when you're an expert who solves problems, then you're a servant. And you have to put yourself in the doctor category, the CPA category, the attorney category. Their decisions are not questioned. Their prescriptions are not questioned. But if we put ourselves, oh, I'm here to be of service to you, Well, it depends. It depends how you've established that relationship ahead of time. This is how I work. This is how I do business. Is that agreeable to you or not? Okay, if it's not, I can recommend you to 5 other people that I know are excellent people, do what they do. But if you want to do business with me, this is how I do business.
Yeah.
And some people will say no, and that's okay because guess what? If you're marketing all the time and your diversity creates stability, that sort of mindset, you're going to attract people anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to that boundaries thing again. It's being clear who you are, what your value is, how you're going to take, move people through your process. And I like the word serve because I think it keeps us humble. But I agree with you. It's not about giving your power away or taking things on in order to get clients and to lose who you are being and what your value is in the process. So that's a good distinction. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, as we with integrity, if we are good people and we want to help people, then that's what we're going to do.
Hmm.
It's just mistaking, so that the relationship is very clear. I'm not a
Right.
servant. I'm
Right.
here to give you the best service possible for what I do and the best, prescription for what will solve your problem, but I'm not a servant.
Excellent service versus servant mentality.
Correct.
Love it. That's a great distinction. That's awesome. So that's a great kind of thing to keep in our minds. And I'm full of like quotes, and I post them on Twitter every day at 7 a.m. That's one of my things, and of course on Facebook, that's what everybody does. But I think we all probably have like a really significant mantra or a success quote or something that we keep with us all the time. Do you have one that's been really significant for you and in terms of keeping your mindset where you want it to be?
I have, and it is one that I heard a while back. Again, when I was competing for business, when I was doing whatever work I could get, and the thing that allowed me to set myself apart from anybody else, at least locally, that does what I do, is I had to develop this mindset, and it's something I repeat to myself all the time. It's the number one thing I tell my clients is the last thing you ever want to be compared to is just another blank. The last thing you ever
Mm.
want to become is just another consultant, just another salesperson, whatever it is. Because once I decided that, that's what set the pace for me to do business on my own terms. Because no other major consultant does business the way I do business, and I'm not going to do business the way they do. Because in the client's eyes or in the prospect's minds, they're saying, oh, you're a consultant, so we'll treat you like every other consultant we've done business with. Oh, our consultants have to go through this process, the RFP process. No, I choose not to because I know how that process works and it's not fair. They know who they want to work with and they're getting a bunch of free tips.
Right. Let's get a couple of plans in place that we can put our preferred vendor on.
Well, they get via free proposals, right? Everybody's doing it for free, competing, and that company has a top three criteria of people they want to work with. They
Hmm.
say, hey, if you guys can do this, that, and the other thing, then we'll hire you within the right price. Well, I decided that I don't want to do that. I don't want to compete because my time's valuable. The time to put that proposal together takes time, money, and effort. So I instead now charge. I'm going to charge you for that initial fee to meet with you, learn as much about you, interview, and then write that report. And if we decide to do business in the future, then I will credit that amount towards any future project fees.
Hmm.
But yeah, but that's how I'm very different than anybody else. I don't answer the phone during the day. I mean, unless I see, hey, it's Melanie, I'll pick it up.
I don't know. I've called you and it's gone to voicemail, so.
I was on the phone.
Okay, you're off the hook.
That one time. No.
Exactly that one time.
But that thing has really helped me run my business in a certain way. That number one, I'm in control of my destiny. I'm in control of the way that I run my business. I'm in the control of how I spend my time. And I have a beautiful son. I make sure that I can take him to school, volunteer, and then pick him up from school every day. I have quality time with him. But so that means I can't answer the phone during the day because I have to use that time maximum, right? There's no urgent call coming in unless I've scheduled it, and then if it's coming from a prospect or something like that, then I make time to return those calls. But, that also prepares my mindset. I have a checklist of things that I'm going to ask if it's a prospect and things like that. But the last thing you ever want to be compared to is just another consultant. I just didn't want to have to play like they play because someone made up those rules down the line, and I'm guessing it was an entrepreneur. So why do I have to run by his rules? It was, or her rules. It's just a standard that was set up, and that's known as normal and customary ways of doing business. But the people who win in life are the people who break the rules. So I just decided not to play by their rules.
So you are making up your own rules about how do you want business and life to be so that you can create a business that really supports your life. One of the, I was coaching somebody many years ago. It was probably close to 9 or 10 years ago now. And one of the things that came out of that conversation was this idea that you can't shove a lifestyle into a busy business or a busy workplace, whatever that is for you. But you can create a business that will serve your lifestyle. And if you start with that end in mind and you say, what do I want my life to be like when I'm building this? Then you make better, more effective decisions. And like we were talking about earlier, you can actually figure out what is it that I can do so I can do the least amount. And I don't want to say we're not going to work. I'm saying we put our effort into the things that are going to have exponential results. That's what we're looking for. How do I put 20% of my effort into the things that get me 80% of my results?
Exactly, exactly. And that's why I've decided how I manage my time during the day, when I work later in the day, as long as it doesn't affect directly my relationship and my lifestyle and those types of things. And that's, God, isn't that what you want? People want out of life? It's like
Yeah.
design your business around your lifestyle. I love it.
Me too. All right, good. So let's wrap up with what's coming up for you. Is there anything that you're super excited about? Something that that you're going to be putting your intention and effort into next that you want to share with us today?
Well, I run a group in Pasadena, California, for entrepreneurs, and I'm doing, for just that I'm excited about is I'm using different vehicles now to attract a higher quality clientele.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in the past in the business of helping um, newbies or people new to understanding that marketing was important to them, and I'm starting to move just slightly beyond that because because my expertise warrants it. I mean, I can be a better use elsewhere. So I'm starting to do more advanced campaigns. You and I just met at the Traffic and Conversion Summit, and I learned a tremendous amount of things there. So I'm testing new Facebook campaigns targeted to very, very ultra specific types of markets.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do those things, I teach those to my people at my mastermind groups and my monthly events. It's like, here's what I'm doing. So it's not just, hey, you should do this. This is what I'm
Right.
doing. And so I measure, I track, I map out everything that I'm doing so that they can duplicate it. So I'm starting to do that. So I'm really, really targeted to attract a higher quality clientele, and by that I mean those with more money to spend, more with experience in their pockets, more of an understanding of why they're really in business and what they're really trying to achieve. The second thing that I'm working on is a kind of a mid-year, what you know and I know as a super conference, right? So I'm creating this live event here in Pasadena that will be my mid-year ultimate conference, and that's kind of exciting. Our friend Robert Scrope kind of planted that seed in my head. We met in January, and I went, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, let's put on a large event where it's a full day of really hard-hitting stuff for the right type of people who are very serious about their business, and it'll be about marketing optimization, about every aspect of their marketing, and so that they can really capitalize on the best results possible. That's what it comes down to.
Love it. I love it. That's great. How fun. Well, Craig, let's share with everybody where they can find you and find out about these events that are coming up and the cool stuff that you're doing with people.
Sure. Well, if you're in the Los Angeles area, please come out and be my guest. On the last Tuesday night of every month, I run an event in Pasadena called EMP, short for Enhanced Marketing Performance, and we meet from 6:30 to 9:15 at night. There's a wide variety of people that you can meet there, diversity, people who are ambitious and driven to create results. So if you want to hang around those types of people, it's a great place to be. You can find out more about that at www.empresults.com, empresults.com. And if you're interested, if you like what you see, click the register button, and you'll be alerted to all the details about the next upcoming event.
And I've been to those several times and have been fortunate enough to have been invited to speak. And it's just such a great group. And as a matter of fact, when I run into people from the group in other places now, it's really fun because they're like, "Hey, I saw you speak at Craig's event," and it's just such a nice group of people that are really, really committed to big results.
Yeah, I'm very privileged. This is our 8th year running this group, and I'm very fortunate.
That's awesome. Well, Craig, thank you so much for sharing some really wonderful wisdom and some great practical tips that people can put into action. And I always love hearing kind of what juices people up and gets them excited and what they've learned from life. So I want to invite you to share what was something that you learned from today. Give a shout out to Craig and myself. We're here on the blog if you're here, or on iTunes. You can come over to melaniebensonstrick.com and hit our blog and tell us what is it that you're learning from today. And there's always a bunch of great resources there as well that we can share with you to help you optimize your business. So thanks, Craig, and we will see you all next week.